Hey, Chris here. So you just got a new lens and you're excited to finally take the images you always dreamed of. You know a great spot and the conditions look promising. And of course, you have this new lens and therefore the pictures must turn out fantastic, right? You get to your spot and you take your photo, or 2 or 50, and when you get home, you don't have time to immediately look at the images, but a few days later, you finally get them on your computer. Scrolling through the pictures, they all feel very underwhelming. They are sharp, but they aren't great. They look similar to the ones you took with your old lens. But how is this possible? This is a new lens and this was supposed to take better images. At least that's what your friend from the camera club and all the gear reviews on YouTube told you. You feel defeated, your new lens ends up in a cabinet in your bedroom and it takes weeks for you to pick your camera up again. And you get that sneaky feeling that you spent way too much money on a piece of equipment and it didn't deliver what you expected it to. So what happened? You've done your research, you know what your new lens can do, but did you make the right lens choice? And I'm not talking which brand you got or if you got the more expensive 2.8 version instead of the 4.0. I'm talking about the right lens joints for the landscape. You probably heard this before. When you take portraits, you want a mid-range lens that reproduces a field of view that looks similar than what you see with your eyes. For wildlife, you want a telephoto lens. For landscapes, you will need a wide-angle lens. But what if I told you that the landscape is telling you which lens to use? And of course, I don't mean that literally, so let me explain. When you arrive at a location and you look around, what is it that catches your eye? Is it an interesting foreground element, like dried salt flats, flowers, or a rock? But also the mountain range in the background? Then you might want to choose a wide-angle lens. Make sure to emphasize this one element in your composition. For example, go very low to the ground or very close to this foreground element to fill a large portion of the frame. The wide-angle lens is probably the most misunderstood lens out there. An overwhelming amount of photographers set up with a wide-angle lens on a tripod at about chest height. The comfortable height to operate your camera and take pictures all the way out at the widest focal length possible. What this will do is bring forward the weakness of the wide-angle lens, and that is its distortion, which is also an advantage, but I will get to that in a minute. When you photograph a subject from far away with a wide-angle lens, objects in your frame will appear smaller than they are. It flattens out majestic mountains, trees, and makes everything look very small. But when you are either very low to the ground or very close to your subject, the distortion will make things appear larger. So, extra tip for your wide-angle lens: go low, go close, and vertical often works better than horizontal. Now, let's say you notice a beautiful tree or an intricate pattern on rocks. A mid-range lens, for example a 24 to 70 millimeters, is a great choice for all of this, because it has almost no distortion and shows the scene like you see it with your eyes. It's difficult to compare human vision to lenses. Both work in very different ways, and your eyes aren't the equivalent of any specific lens. A photo taken with a mid-range lens can be very relaxing and natural because things look, well, normal to us. A mid-range lens can add realism to the photo and is therefore perfect for these portraits of nature, like a portrait of a tree, small scenes in nature, or to take a few photos in a row for that panorama image without any distortion. An extra tip for mid-range lenses: they are jack of all trades and can be used for a multitude of genres, from portraits to product photography to street or travel photography. If you only want to get one lens and use it for multiple purposes, the mid-range lens is a great choice. Moving on to the big glass, so all of your telephoto lenses with focal lengths above 70 millimeters. In landscape photography, this is your lazy lens. So when you see an amazing arrangement of trees, but they are on the other side of a frozen lake and too far away to be framed nicely with your mid-range lens, you can choose your telephoto lens without actually having to walk over there. Long lenses affect the relative size of your subject to the background and have a compression effect. This makes your background look bigger and closer to your subject. The further away you get from your subject, the larger the background appears in relation to that subject. It's also a great lens to photograph in mountainous areas. For example, the different layers of a mountain range. A telephoto lens is also a great tool to exclude everything that doesn't support the main subject. Remember that it is not about what you include, but what you leave out or exclude that can make or break a photo. One downside of telephoto lenses is that they are heavy and can be pretty expensive. Now, let's put all of this into practice. In this clip here, what does capture your attention the most? If it was the tree, which lens would you choose? And in this one, if it was the cracked mud patterns, which lens would you choose? If it was the rolling sand dunes, which lens would you choose? This exercise also works great the other way around. Can you guess at which focal length these images were taken at? There will be a moment when you start to see the landscape the way your lenses see it. So if your newest lens is still somewhere in the depths of your closet, think about the advantages different focal lengths have and go out and use it again. If the wide-angle lens was the most interesting one for you in this video, and you want to try and use the method with the interesting foreground very close to your lens, you will most likely have to focus stack your images to get a photo that is sharp from front to back. Mike made a video a while ago that explains exactly how that works in 5 minutes. And if you want to check it out, I will put it right here on the screen for you to check out. Thanks for hanging out with me. Bye bye!